Professional cyclists are considered to be some of the best endurance athletes in the world. The highest V02 Max ever recorded was by a cyclist. Races like the Tour de France last for 3 weeks and cover 3,000 kilometres, and track cyclist Robert Fosterman is said to have the world's biggest thighs.
But what about us? How does a keen amateur cyclist, me, and a retired pro cyclist, compare to the very best in the world? Well, with the help of Humango and Human Powered Health's brand new testing labs, we're going to find out. But this facility isn't just for elite athletes and us two chumps. Anyone can come here and get themselves tested to find out how fit and healthy they are, and also improve their overall fitness and well-being. And that's important because metrics such as your V02 Max are not just important for athletes who want to optimize their performance, it's also pretty much the best marker there is for long-term health and life expectancy.
To do this, we've hopped across the pond to Boston in the US of A to be put through a number of grueling tests to push our bodies to the absolute limit and assess a number of key performance metrics. We are going to be measuring and testing our resting metabolic rate, our lactate threshold analysis, our VO2 max, also monitoring our sweat and hydration rates, conducting a Wingate test, and conducting force plate analysis and functional movement screening.
Not only to see how pathetic we are compared to some of the world's best, but to see how we compare to each other, because the days of joking about Ollie being dropped are long gone.
Helping guide us through the process, we have Teresa and Alessa from the lab and Pav from Humango, because after all of the testing is complete, they are going to explain how we can make improvements and use the Humango AI coaching platform to prep for similar events in the future. Luckily for us, the first tests of the day were easy, although slightly weird because having only just met Alessa, the first thing she wanted us to do was stick out our tongues to measure our hydration levels and then put on the most ridiculous looking masks and sit still for 20 minutes in a reclining chair. I mean, these are the kind of tests I think we would all be pretty happy doing, but crucially provides information on our metabolic rates and the baseline energy demands of our bodies. Things progressed from there, and after a weigh-in and a height check, we headed into the main lab area where our off-the-bike strength, or should I say weakness, was assessed using motion detecting cameras and force plates. Oh, and for total clarity, yes, I am truly embarrassed at how pathetic Ollie's and my jumps were. After a few minutes of what can only be described as comedy gold, the off-the-bike tests were done, and it was time for the main attraction, lactate testing and a VO2 max test.
It's going to be 4-minute stages, and it can be anywhere from 5 to 8 stages, depending on each individual's lactate levels.
Lactate or lactic acid is a byproduct of exercise. The more intense the exercise, the more lactate that the body produces.
Nice job. All right, how'd that stage feel? Got it. Go ahead.
And by carefully increasing our effort levels and monitoring the lactate levels in our blood, we can find the point when the body is producing it at a greater rate than it can remove it from our blood.
1 minute left, you got it.
A build-up of lactic acid is what gives our muscles that burning sensation and forces us to lower our intensity levels when we are exercising. Measuring this is done by taking a small blood sample from our finger every 4 minutes of the test. This test is a longer drawn-out process, and the results were quite surprising, but more on those later on, because next up was the VO2 Max test, where we would push our bodies to the absolute limit by increasing the intensity and power until we could do no more.
Good work.
Naturally, our efforts made us very sweaty, of which a sample was collected from a patch on our arms before being squeezed out into a tray for analysis.
Oh, God.
And yes, this was one of the most disgusting things that I've seen for a very long time. But it meant there was only the Wingate test remaining. But seeing as that test was done with 30 seconds worth of effort, let's dive into the results.
All right, results are in. So we started off the day with a simple hydration test, just seeing how you guys came in. For Alex, we were hydrated when we came in, which is awesome.
Fantastic.
After all the assessments we did, we were severely dehydrated. But that's why we are rehydrating. We've got recommendations here, so it's super, important for you to continue to replenish all of that sweat that you lost, and make sure that you're, continuing to hydrate for your next race.
So, visually, we saw there was a large volume of sweat, but it was salty as well, so it's like a double hit.
Yes, and so we'll just keep talking about your sweat here. Okay. So you're in the high sodium range, so you're losing a lot of sodium in your sweat. So we like to call you a salty sweater. Okay. So not only just the volume of water is important, but the electrolytes to replenish that sodium, because sodium is important for muscle contractions. Yeah. And so for Ollie, we were mildly dehydrated at the beginning. Could have been due to your traveling, the day before is really what affects these numbers.
Long haul flight.
Correct. Not ideal for this. And then after all of your assessments, you were moderately dehydrated. So you didn't have as big of a change as Alex did, but still on that dehydrated level. And so once again, important for you to continue to take in fluids. Not as salty of a sweater as Alex either, so losing around 620 milligrams.
Is that half the amount of me,
Almost.
More, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big difference.
Yeah. And so most people, have no idea how much sodium they're losing unless they do something like this. And so this is really important to understand, a strategy for your electrolyte replenishment too. So our next one was our resting metabolic rate. So for this one, we were able to see how many calories you were burning at rest, and then you can use that to gauge how many calories you would want to have throughout the day, considering exercise and things like that. So this is still Ollie. So for Ollie, during rest, just sitting there, laying down, breathing normally, around 1,600 calories. Alex was 2,300.
I can eat all the biscuits.
But I'm burning a lot more fat than you.
Yes.
So what's causing those differences between us?
What does that? Why do I burn more fat than Alex?
Yes. So this number, so we can see how much energy you're getting from fats versus carbs. And so you were burning around 71% fats, 28% carbs. And so that just means that your body is actually a little bit more, efficient, because at rest, we actually do want to burn more fats. We want to save the carbs for our high intensity exercise, especially for that fat versus carbs contribution. Some extremes we've seen are people who might be, severely overweight and have metabolic issues. They would be burning majority carbs and less fats. And so this would be, something that we would recommend is, more exercise, doing more zone 2 and aerobic exercise gets your body to be more efficient at burning fats and saving carbs for high intensity exercise.
So, having concluded that I'm sweatier than Ollie and my baseline energy demands are over 40% higher, it was onto the movement screening and force plate analysis. And to save us the embarrassment of a lesser explaining just how poor our results are and how imbalanced our bodies are, let's just say there's plenty of room for improvement. Which leads us to the on-bike tests. Surely we can do better here. And for context, the highest ever V02 Max recorded is 97.5 by cyclist Oscar Svensson from Norway, with the average healthy male expected to be in the 35 to 40 range, and the average healthy female approximately 27 to 31. Make sure to remember those numbers.
So Ollie, we have a 65.5 milliliters per minute per kilogram. So compared to other males your age, that's in the superior category.
Oh, high five.
Take that, yeah.
That is fantastic. Now, compared to other elite cyclists in their prime, typically we see mid-70s, but that's, top of the top cyclists in their prime. So once again, this is fantastic for other people your age. You're in the superior category. So then Alex, we had a 68.7.
Is that slightly better than you?
So once again, you're in the superior category as well for your age compared to other males too.
Good. I feel like we've succeeded at that.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. And, just in general, we always want to try to keep improving that. So the best way to improve VO2 max is first off that zone 2 aerobic training that helps to improve, your capillary density, your ability to deliver oxygen to your muscles, and then, sprinkling in those threshold workouts too, zone 4s, zone 5s as well. That helps to improve your capacity and your ability to handle high intensity efforts. We're gonna go to our lactate test now. So here's Alex. So this is your lactate graph. Pretty much we determined your threshold, or LT2, is gonna be around 3 millimoles right here, because you can see this is the point where your lactate starts to shoot up. Yeah. And so based off this, we can see that it is around 305 watts. Once we got to this point, so your lactate was around 2.7 here, and then it shoots up to 4.8, and then it shoots up again to 7.2. So almost doubles within that time. And so this does kind of validate what you've been telling us, that you've been doing mostly zone 2 workouts and things like that. So a way to improve this and kind of, I say, shift the graph to the right, because you want this threshold to happen at higher wattages, is doing more high intensity threshold work in zones 4 and 5. Ollie, here's your lactate graph. We found your threshold, or your LT2, to be around 288 watts. And you can see that's kind of where your lactate levels start to really spike up there. And so, same thing. Anybody trying to improve their lactate threshold is just doing high intensity efforts to get your body more efficient at clearing out lactate at those higher wattages.
You're on to what was the last grueling test.
The last
only 30 seconds, but it was awful.
For you, I think it was you did not like it at all. So that was our Wingate test. And so yes, the Wingate is an all-out max effort for 30 seconds, as hard and fast as you can. And so what we get from here is your relative peak power in watts per kilogram. So for you, Alex, it was 14.59. We get what's something that we really like to look at for Wingate is the fatigue factor, or your fatigue index. And so that is a percentage. It tells us how fast and how powerful you were at the beginning, and then how fast you started to die.
Okay.
Mine died massively.
So I've got a 44% fatigue factor.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's
So
hop
you
on
did
over.
1,000. That's good.
That was fantastic. High fives all around. And then we've got 46% for Ollie.
Oh, so you beat me on fatigue.
Oh, so I was
I was
better.
a bit more.
You want
fatigue
lower.
factor than
You want a lower percentage.
Quite similar though.
We are quite. I'm surprised.
And 919. I mean, a lot of people can do more than that.
So
But for me, that's quite good.
Our visit to the lab was just a few days before Ollie and I took on the Grand Fondo in New York, and understandably, there was no way for us to improve our fitness with so little time. But what I was interested to hear was how Pav thought we could take all of our test results and how we could utilise some coaching from the Humango AI platform should we want to make improvements and take on events in the future.
Yeah, so the first thing, now we've got the results, is we're going to set your zones within Humango. It's going to be far more accurate than just using sort of a percentage of thresholds. We can set every single zone by a specific number to make sure that when you're doing the workouts, they are, as effective as possible. We saw as well as some emphasis that could be placed on some strength work off the bike. And I think we could increase the amount of strength that's allocated in your week, obviously depending on you having the time available. One of the crucial things, we can set a specific goal, which will drive an improvement towards one of the metrics that you want to improve. We can also look within a period or a phase of that training and prioritise a little bit more in a different zone. So if you wanted to do a little bit more higher intensity over one specific period of time, we could prioritise that too. I think going forward, obviously, you've got your results now.
Yeah.
We can look at that. We can look at where your weaknesses are, and we can really look to ensure that, depending on your next goal, whether that is something which we discussed as you being a strength, to being long distance or very powerful. As with most methodology, you'd strengthen your weaknesses far away from the event. Do as much as you can to get the biggest bang for your buck, and as you get closer, strengthen those strengths. So with the data that we've got from the lab today, we can really make sure that the AI can really personalize your training journey. And I think with you guys, I know how much you travel and work, and your training might not be as consistent as you would like it to be. I think one of the advantages that we have is that we have the ability to plan in that in advance.
So from all this testing, we found that while Ollie and I are considered to be in the superior range for normal people across most of the different metrics, it's very humbling to recognise just how far away we are from the pro athletes. I mean, Tadej Pogačar wouldn't even break into a sweat riding at our V02 Max power, and riders like Jonathan Milan sprint to victory with almost double the watts that Ollie can produce, and they managed to do so at the end of a 200-kilometre race. It genuinely is mind-blowing.
Well, okay, guys, that has been super fascinating. I want to say thanks very much for your time. I've really enjoyed it. Ollie's enjoyed it. I hope everyone at home has too. And also, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on how you think Ollie and I got on. So let us know in the comments section down below. And of course, if you want to see more cycling videos like this, subscribe to GCN Tech and subscribe to GCN. Right, that's it from us. See you later.